With intelligence, vision, and imagination, science fiction authors and filmmakers have fascinated the public for generations. Their provocative stories are complete with fantastic places, futuristic technology, and unknown and inexplicable forces. Their insights foretell many advancements of mankind, but they also warn us of the consequences of our actions, such as mass environmental disasters, extreme climate change, and global warming. Are these inventive tales pure entertainment, or are they also prophetic glimpses into our future?
Nowadays, when people fling around science fiction as a term, they seem to mean outer space, space battleships. Perhaps it's not a very good name anymore. Maybe what we're really talking about is speculative fiction.
Submarines and rockets to the moon and interplanetary adventures. In the earliest days of science fiction, the fiction was really heavily based in science.
Everybody makes their own interpretation. Each person looks at a science fiction novel through different eyes, I think.
With the dawn of new technologies such as electricity, the telegraph, and new forms of powered transportation, writers like Jules Verne and H.G. Wells created a body of work that became popular across broad cross-sections of society.
Jules Verne was a kind of a time traveler. He went hundreds or thousands of years ahead into the future. He sent men to the moon long before it happened, and actually was so nearly accurate that when we first flew to the moon, it was practically from the spot that he had predicted in his story.
Jules Verne's imaginative adventures took readers around the world in 80 days, from the Earth to the moon, and of course, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which featured a high-tech submarine. In comparison, H.G. Wells's novels described darker visions of the future. His graphic fantasies were more paranoid and depressed by the aspects of war. Wells foresaw the downhill movement of mankind as a result of the invention of the atomic bomb. This pessimistic viewpoint was most prevalent in his later years.
There's a tremendous lot of war preparation and war feeling accumulating in Europe and in the world generally, but I don't think a war situation is likely to arrive before 1940. Just how much bloodshed, just how much suffering humanity has to go through, that depends on an incalculable factor. It depends upon the wisdom and the goodwill and the generosity of human beings. So far, they've been a little short in those elements.
Verne and Wells had this weird sort of rivalry, and Verne held H.G. Wells in a kind of contempt because Wells didn't do the science.
I think Wells' concept of storytelling, as well as capturing the spectacular qualities of fantasy, is a great contribution to all filmmaking.
The birth of science fiction can be traced back to the early days of motion pictures. The 1930 musical Just Imagine was one of the first films to depict a future society. Along with the groundbreaking film Metropolis, these motion pictures established the essentials of much of 20th century science fiction cinema: futuristic hardware, strange new worlds, and dazzling special effects.
I am only the words. You are the melody.
It was very Art Deco of how in the 30s they thought the future was going to look like. The Art Deco buildings, the sleek-nosed spaceships, the space cars that would float around, and well, all this type of stuff.
The film's Sibylline imagery of more immense futuristic cities is a prediction that eventually came to pass. Throughout the history of science fiction, writers and directors have all gravitated toward themes surrounding impending disaster and doom.
Alert 05. Launch retaliatory missiles. All enemy targets.
Whether it's a threat of advanced technology, the overpopulation of a species, or nature gone awry, the self-destruction of the human population has been a present and looming force. In the 1950s, the development of the atomic bomb changed the psyche of the American public. The paranoia of nuclear destruction spread throughout the country.
Day There Stood Still, which is an incredible film about an emissary coming from another planet to warn us to stop doing our nuclear bombs. And it's a very message picture, but it's a message picture for today, even though it was made in 1951.
The universe grows smaller every day, and the threat of aggression by any group, anywhere, can no longer be tolerated. This does not mean giving up any freedom, except the freedom to act irresponsibly.
The movie does have sort of a one-world message, but it gets across the idea that the planet is indeed small.
Over a decade later, the world of science fiction took the threat of nuclear annihilation more seriously with one of the most expensive and commercially successful films of the 1960s.
The whole concept of the movie Planet of the Apes, of the original movie, is that man doesn't have a God-given right to the earth. That if he doesn't take care of it and doesn't, mind his manners and manage it properly, he might lose it.
I'm home. All the time. We finally really did it. You maniacs! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
The threat of an advanced technology which can destroy mankind can also have the ability to save it.
The fiery sky is now threatening to strike a mortal blow at the heart of the Midwest Farm Belt. Thousands of acres of vital grain have already shriveled under the intense heat.
Occasionally, the unpredictable force of Mother Nature becomes the main attraction of a sci-fi film. Because they usually foretell a future world crisis, this type of sci-fi disaster film has always captivated audiences. In Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, the world is overheating, not because of nuclear war, but because of a strange meteor belt that's pelting the Earth with intense radiation.
My God. The sky's on fire.
The movie starts with the polar ice caps melting, and you see huge glaciers toppling into the ocean, which are exactly the kind of images we're used to seeing on the television now when they're trying to explain what global warming is. There's this super futuristic submarine called the Seaview, commanded by two scientists played by Walter Pidgeon and Peter Lorre, and they have concocted this plan to save the world by exploding a rocket, which is going to extinguish this belt of fire. The movie's key image is the East River in New York with the flames above and a submarine approaching it. And it shows the United Nations possibly as the symbol of the only kind of solution that can solve global warming, and that's international cooperation.
Explode the belt and you explode the world.
Not if the blast is directed away from us.
I know the chemical composition of the gases within the belt and the rate of consumption by fire. My calculations cannot be wrong.
Where in real life, it's the scientists who now are pretty much in total accord that global warming is real.
The evidence keeps piling in. We see unprecedented temperatures being recorded in corals from the equatorial Pacific, unprecedented warming over the past 30 years. We drill down into the ice cap and we take this core of ice, and so we can get a continuous record of climate all the way back to the past 100,000 years or so. They trap bubbles of the atmosphere. And that's how we know, for example, that carbon dioxide concentrations today are 30% higher than they were ever before. And that's due to human activity, like fossil fuel burning.
Well, we've been burning fossil fuels, first coal and oil, natural gas, since the advent of the Industrial Revolution. But only in the last 50, 60, 70 years has the world population gotten large enough and demands for energy high enough that we are putting a critical amount of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
Virtually everywhere we look we see the greenhouse signal predicted by the current climate models, not just in the surface temperature, but in the sea ice, the way it's changed, snow cover, the way it's changed, most importantly in the heat content of the oceans. They're an integrator of long-term change, and it turns out that's where most of the greenhouse warming has gone, into warming up the oceans.
Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea has a lot of technical absurdities. I mean, it starts in a scene where ice sinks, which doesn't happen in real life, so we know it's not particularly scientifically accurate. What it does that is very good is it communicates the idea that Earth's ecology is extremely fragile. If you raise the temperature just a few degrees, the ability of people to live might be severely hindered.
We are seeing the polar ice caps disappearing at an incredible rate, and in fact, the Arctic ice cap is projected to be gone if CO2 emissions aren't reduced, completely gone in the summers by the year 2050. That would mean the extinction of the polar bears.
When climate changes, it almost doesn't matter if it's wetter or drier, it's going to be a problem. The most likely way that we humans will feel a climate event like this is through drought in some places and flooding in other places.
We're watching at the moment the drying out of southwestern United States. We have a big drought in Arizona, and everyone has noticed that the forests of North America are burning. They're burning because it's warmer and drier. These are big, serious problems. The climatic disruption has the potential for literally burning civilization off the earth in the course of the next decades.
The disaster film epic The Day After Tomorrow depicts a world where global warming triggers an abrupt climate change, creating a global superstorm that unleashes unimaginable worldwide weather disasters. But is this doomsday scenario merely science fiction, or is it science fact?
In this original piece of material was based on a theory that increased global warming is melting the polar ice caps. Most geological changes take a long, long time, thousands of years. But when you're talking about a system like this, you get closer and closer and closer, and then you reach a tipping point. And the idea is when you've reached that tipping point, things happen very quickly. And if it were to happen the way that some scientists believe it could happen, we'd be looking at something that would be absolutely incredibly fast in geological terms, something like 5 to 10 years. Obviously, in a movie, you can't have a 5 to 10 year arc, so we compressed it to a few weeks of events. People could say, oh, well, you know, at 10 years versus a few weeks, that's nothing like that. But believe me, 10 years for a climate to shift would feel like an absolutely, you know, catastrophic and cataclysmic event.
Science fiction is constantly adapting to new visions of the future. The genre will always stay 2 steps ahead of the contemporary world and technology.
The medieval philosophers were right. Man is the center of the universe.
The fertile imagination of science fiction authors and filmmakers will always plant the seeds of an alternative reality into our consciousness, transforming the way we see ourselves and the world we live in. These cautionary tales are mere insights into a possible future which can inspire us to solve the significant problems that face mankind.
What needs to be done is that we have to move quickly away from fossil fuels. We have to lead the world in that direction, subsidize the development of alternatives, wind energy, solar panels, and we can do it.
Future technologies and public awareness can help and teach the world to overcome the difficult obstacles that lie ahead.
You know, we can't all suddenly live a perfectly energy efficient lifestyle. We can't all change everything in our world, but we can do little things, and each person can do what he or she is comfortable doing.
I think there's still time, but it requires a mentality that is not currently operating in our political system. This is a problem, I'm afraid, that is not a Democratic, it's not a Republican problem. It's we the people. And so we need at least some small part of the government to worry about we the people over the next couple of decades.
The doomsday scenario of global climate change isn't necessarily a prophecy that needs to come true. The imaginative visions predicted in science fiction can help us alter the way we perceive our impact on the planet, and in doing so, change it. Things we can all do to help the environment. Recycle. Use compact fluorescent light bulbs. Keep your thermostat low. Plant trees and plants. Keep your tires inflated. Use alternative transportation. Use less hot water. Turn off and unplug unnecessary electronic appliances. Make energy-efficient choices.